welcome to our session brought to you by Clarion Retail, who present Home and Gift, Top Drawer, January Furniture Show, Manchester Furniture Show, and Reveal. I'm Sarah Davies. I run Floella Interiors, an interior design company based up in Cheltenham in the Cotswolds. Joining me today is an interior designer, Lindy Reynolds, who certainly shares my love of colour and design ethos. Welcome, Lindy. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to start with you just telling us a bit about yourself and about your brand.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm absolutely delighted to join you and to talk about this fascinating topic of trends. Thank you so much. A little bit about us. We are a luxury high-end architectural interior design practice based in Surrey, and our projects all tend to be around Surrey and London. We specialize primarily in luxury new builds, residential, and or character property development, makeovers, transformations, and extensions. So those are the two key areas, and our projects tend to run we work through to the end and handover. So they are all encompassing.
And what are your clients looking for when they hire an interior designer?
Well, that's a very good question, and it changes with every client. Usually our clients come to us, and one of the first things they'll tell us why they've come to us. Some of our clients will be very upfront with the fact that they have absolutely no confidence in terms of their style choices, and so that's what they're looking for in an interior designer. Most of our clients are really very, very short of time. They've got big jobs, they've got no time to run these projects, but they know that they want a really lovely finish at the end of the road. They want to hand it over to someone that they know that will do the job.
Yeah, I think for me, a big one is that sort of having somebody on board and maybe lacking a little bit in confidence. Certainly my clients kind of know what they want, but it's almost just having a helping hand, having somebody with a bit more experience and knowledge and maybe a bit more on the front line of design, and sort of new things that you can bring to the table, and just sort of holding their hand and helping them make those bigger, more, may feel a bit more risky decisions that are, more expensive. And so maybe some people tend to sort of take a back seat and not push out of that comfort zone a little bit. And I think that we kind of help just pull everything together.
Yeah, actually, in all instances, our clients are always looking to us for our trained eye to make sure that if they like something, they'll usually always say, "Is this going to work?" It's just that assurance that at the end of the day, it's going to work.
Yeah, it's sort of a daunting, and it's it's expensive. Can be expensive mistakes to make if it's not done the right way. So let's focus on trends. How do trends influence your creative process?
It's an interesting question, and something I haven't really given too much thought about really until now. And I think that's got to do with the fact that it is such an intuitive process for us. Mm-hmm. We're always evolving and aware of trends around us, but it's not so much conscious as intuitive, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely more. I don't tend to follow trends as such. I'm definitely more influenced by my clients, but then in turn, trends are things that are sort of current and relevant. So I'm first and foremost influenced by my client, and then the sort of trends and things, if they suit a client, will kind of come and make a play for it. So looking specifically at trend forecasting, how far ahead are you able to make predictions?
So spotting trends is not an exact science, definitely not. And there are companies that do that. Sometimes we'll tap into that, but there are a few areas that we look to very definitely in order to get a good gauge of where things are headed. And the fashion industry is a great indicator on color and pattern, for example. But it's much faster moving. So but it definitely is a good gauge. And another area that we look to is jewelry design. That gives us a great indication on metal finishes, what color tones, what architectural ironmongery is going to be the next thing. So that's how we, but also trends emerge from social pressures, or for example, the COVID pandemic that we've all gone through, and that has had enormous impacts on trends, but from a very different angle.
Yeah, just think it's immersing yourself and sort of gathering information from everywhere. Just as we're interior designers, but you don't look, and I certainly don't tell my clients to just look at interiors for kind of inspiration or to find the things that they love. Going to jewelry for finishes is such a brilliant one. Holidays, things like the pandemic, everything around us, just immersing yourself. I say that to my clients when I'm pulling together ideas, to go and not just pin me a whole load of interior shots they like, tell me where they like to go on holiday, or put me just a picture that just inspires them, because then you'll sort of just build up. And that's kind of what trend forecasting are doing, aren't they? They're just looking at the world around us.
What the pulls and pushes might be. Absolutely.
Yeah. It comes from everywhere, which is so fascinating. It's about being open, isn't it? And to pull on all of these things around us.
And I think the other thing that we've found is that trends come from a place of need, or to address a social issue. So, for example, with the COVID pandemic, there was a need to create joyful spaces, joyful interiors that give assurance and stability, and all those wonderful things that we need, especially if we're spending so much time in them.
Well, that brings me on to my next question. So, saying that we have seen this explosion of colour and pattern, especially in textiles and wallpapers over the last couple of years. Some observers would say that sort of reached its peak and is sort of fading. What do you think about that? And what do you think, if so, what's around the corner?
Yes, so I'm a colorist. I absolutely love color. I love pattern. I think it's a wonderful period that we're living through currently. I hope that it's not about to disappear on us, because I think it's only just getting started. I think in order to understand where a trend is going, it can be really useful to look back into history and to see how similar movements have evolved. And I see this a lot of synergies between the arts and crafts movement, a real need to address the sort of over-industrialized state of things. And so the arts and crafts movement addressed a very real need to see pattern and crafting, and that's the same. We're seeing that now too with color, texture, and craft. Craft has been around for a while now, so this holding on to the things that really matter. And so that movement was around for 40 years, which is a long time. I'm not predicting that by any means. Things move a lot faster now. I think we're only into about we've been seeing this for about the last 3 years, so hopefully it's got a little bit more.
I think so. You're sort of getting this abundance, aren't you, after this sort of pandemic of having this sort of quite hard couple of years, and now just this sort of, for me, colour and pattern are, I'm a huge colourist as well, and I just love it, and it makes me happy, and it's my whole ethos, so I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that, after this time, it's really lovely just to have this sort of joyful, happy, wonderful palette. I was thinking the other day, because he's been around so much, and my kids are always telling me about Harry Styles and the new album, and just sort of seeing him over this sort of beginning of the summer out there in all this amazing eclectic mix of colour and sort of joyfulness and exuberance. It's just makes people happy, and and that's what colour and pattern do. Equally, I'll add, if it's very important to, if that's not your vibe and that's not your thing, don't touch it. You find your kind of colour palette, but I definitely think just colour of any sort and pattern of any type, is really important. Let's just get on board with it. And I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, let's hope. I mean, I think if it is going to be given the death knell, it will be. There are a few designers out there I've noticed who are using it in such great abundance that it's sort of almost an assault on the senses, and using contemporary, lots of complementary colors and spaces So, I think there is a way of using color and pattern in order to create calm or joy. But it's a tricky balance. And anyway, those designers that I'm mentioning, I'm not going to put names to this, but I think that also is a reflection of the age, and it's a measure of the opulence that we're seeing as well.
Yeah.
So it's not irrelevant, but it's not my preferred choice.
And so which styles and trends do you think have longevity and are worth investing in, and which are definitely not?
Well, trends that are worth investing in, I think is something to be very clear on, are ones that make you feel good and have long-term benefits. So it's really important to be able to identify between a trend and a fad. But trends that are around to stay, I predict, would be, this is just a few of them, but biophilia, which is indoor planting, and this idea of bringing connecting inside planting with outside, so creating that relationship between inside and out and extending the eye into nature. There's so much benefit has been documented from that. So I think that's a fabulous idea, and not one that should be going anywhere. Sustainability, of course, this is really, really key and has to be. It's really an outward celebration of environmentally conscious products, which is what we need to be celebrating and presenting. I don't know if you saw recently at WOW, the French master craftsman Thierry Janot chandelier, amazing, just made from thousands of PET recyclable plastic bottles that he'd recycled, but all perfectly cut to create this wonderful chandelier that on first glance looked like a crystal chandelier. So that's what we need to see more of. I can't see that going anywhere. It's an absolute must.
And really exciting time to see all this kind of new way of doing something, new way of recycling.
Absolutely. And these, designers like Thierry, that's cutting edge. It's, that's where we need to be. That's where we need to be focusing our energies, and with this emergence of craft as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice, it's an exciting time to be living through.
I was just going to mention the other trend that I think is really key and will be around for quite a while is eclectic mix. We see that in interiors where this idea of layering styles and objet d'art from different periods, introducing antiques, having antiques and complementary pieces of furniture sitting side by side. I think that's
absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I love the idea of mixing these pieces together and just having a room that looks a little bit more evolved and has that longevity. It doesn't seem, it can kind of carry on. You can upcycle or chop and change little things and refresh things quite easily without having to scrap a whole room. So it's just having a room that can kind of last the test of time. And definitely that eclectic feel is definitely my bag completely. And I think using something in a client's house or going and seeing somebody and finding a piece that maybe that they would be happy to throw away, but just to get that connection back again, and use something that actually sort of touches them or has a memory, brings a bit of soul into a room.
Yes, absolutely. Spaces with meaning. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, completely. And I think you feel that, and you feel that as an outsider coming into somebody's home. I think if you have something that has a connection with somebody, I really think as a outsider, you'd walk in and you'd feel that, you'd notice it.
Yeah, no, history is a wonderful thing. I think it's quite grounding and reassuring.
Yeah, 100%. How do you keep a balance with trends and your own distinctive style? Do they influence each other?
They influence each other. Well, I'd say that we do that purely by keeping a finger on the pulse of finishes and how finishes are evolving. Because when we first set up our company, I spent a lot of time thinking about what is it that we offer, and we've been going for 16 years now. And I was very clear from the onset that we were going to be delivering timeless classics. Yeah. Things that have longevity, spaces that have longevity, because They need to, and so really, to answer your question, finishes are key for us because that's the way that we evolve and keep abreast of trends or stay relevant to the time that we're installing, I suppose.
And when you're talking about finishes, what would you say are the finishes that you're looking at or what are coming out sort of for the future?
Yes, so I mean, again, going back to the fact that it's an eclectic age, I don't think there's ever been such a proliferation, for example, of metal finishes. We've done some lovely sort of rustic bronzes. Brass is in currently as well. So again, so that, before it would either be chrome or brass. No, it's not like that any longer. It's so much more evolved. And actually that can be quite problematic in matching everything through. But
I know. How do you feel about mixing metals?
Well, it can be done, but you need to know what your rules are and you need to know how you're doing that. So it's something that you need to be aware of. It's hard to explain because you'd have to look at a specific circumstance. But for example, architectural ironmongery, I think that should be the same throughout. Yeah. And then you can change with bathroom brassware.
Okay. And how do you think, we're opening up a whole nother talk about that, how do you think the pandemic has impacted customers' decisions on their priorities for home or retail space?
Gosh, massively, and in so many ways. I found it so interesting at the onset of the COVID pandemic. I had just been doing a whole piece on color psychology. Yeah. And I was walking our dog Jagger one day, and I was thinking, I can see there's a trend for green, and it was just proliferation of room after room of green. Fashion shirts, I think, was one of those. The thing with green is that it is a source of it's the color of balance and equilibrium. So isn't it interesting that at a time when the world was turned upside down, his go-to color was give me green, calm this whole situation down. And so that's one. Certainly we've seen that there's been a real call for family library spaces, work from home bases, and also just a lot more effort going into creating homes that we're proud and pleased to be in, really.
Yeah, just make us feel happy. And I know that I had coming out of the pandemic, on the more of the business side, we had a job to do a business that had done very well in the pandemic and moved to bigger, wonderful premises, but it was almost getting everyone back into the office. And so our brief was to create this new office, but in this completely new way of working, and make it a really inspirational place to work, somewhere that was fun, quite homely, lots of different zoning, different types of working stations, real social spaces, spaces to bring other people in to co-work. It was a really exciting project to be a part of. Lots of green, their whole company colours are green, but we brought in loads of plants and lots of different zoning areas, and it was fantastic. It was such an exciting way to totally flip the working environment on its head and do something completely
fabulous.
So I think there's so many really great, obviously the pandemic has been awful for so many reasons, but also there are these sort of lovely things and pockets of great things that are sort of coming out of being quiet for a while.
Absolutely. No, it's very exciting.
Pull on those positive things. Right, I can see we're sort of running out of time, so I'm going to sort of pause it there and just see if you've got any sort of top tips to kind of finish with.
Yes, so a top tip would be make sure that you know the difference between a fad and a trend. And if you're not sure, a trend will always have a long-term benefit for you personally. A tip would be on color. If you want to use colors that are on trend, make sure that if there's a color that is on trend that you're not too sure about, that you're going to always love, then use that as in accent pieces only. But
Yeah,
Color is one of those things that can change quite quickly. So,
yeah, totally. I think a tip from me would just be to go with your gut. If you love something, don't be sort of swayed by somebody else's opinion. If it's not right, if it feels right for you, do it, go with it. I think if you're passionate about something, whether it's in your business or your personal, whatever, if you're passionate, that will shine through, and everybody else, whether they like it or not, that doesn't matter. The people who like it will come to you, but if you're true to yourself and honest about what you love, then that will shine through. And that's just be true to yourself. You can't please everybody.
No, it's got to be personal, and you've got to be able to commit to it, definitely.
100%. Right, well that about wraps it up. Thank you, Lindy, so much.
Thank you, Sarah,
taking the time to chat to us. I found it so interesting and really inspiring, so thank you. And I will just leave with saying that so it's Lindy Reynolds, and she is on Insta at Lindy Reynolds. Your website is lindyreynolds.co.uk. You can find her on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. Go and have a look at her website, it's fantastic. I'm Sarah, Floella Interiors, on Insta and Facebook, and floella.uk on website. So thanks again, real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Take care. Lovely.
Bye.